Okay, and what is your name and what is your job?
First Sergeant John Mckim. I'm Army instructor for the Nokomis JROTC.
Okay, interesting. How long were you with the Army?
24 years.
Holy crap. Okay, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions about stuff that went on in the past then.
Alright.
Okay. Do you remember Elvis Presley when he died?
I do. Fort Sill, Oklahoma came to a standstill.
Really?
I'm serious as a heart attack. All the units had mass formations to announce his death. Soldiers were just so overcome with it they couldn't go back to work.
Like for real? That affected the soldiers that much? He was
for
that
real.
big of a hit?
He back, yeah. Oh yeah, they came.
Wow.
Closed Fort Sill down.
Wow. Wow. So you being in the military, 79, the Iran hostage crisis?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Oh yes. Let me see. There were the hostages. That was also the year Ronald Reagan was elected. And he had promised them if the hostages wasn't released by the time he became president, he was coming to get them. And if you watch the inauguration of President Reagan, you'll see somebody whisper in his ear right after he took the oath. And the whisper was, the hostages have taken off.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Reagan?
Probably one of the greatest presidents we've had in my lifetime.
Yeah, I've heard a couple old people, like older people say that. What made him, like, great?
Straightforward, cared, didn't milk things down with politics. Of course, we all know all presidents have politics, though, involved. You know, there's agendas they're going to live. But it was just like the speech to Gorbachev to bring down the wall in Berlin. That was the start of the whole thing, of the de-escalation of the Cold War. He was a big portion of that because he started the talks with the Russians on that. So yeah, quite a president.
My mom would like to say to me, like, all the time, some policy of his was trust but verify.
Yep.
Like with some countries, he'd be like, alright, I'm going to trust you to do this, but just in case I've got my button or my finger on the big red button.
Well,
here.
and that's what he was telling Iran when he became president. Either you release my hostages, or I'm coming to get them. And they took off right after he took the oath. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It is.
So, like, 83, was that part of Reagan's term?
Yep.
240 Marines killed by a suicide bomb in Lebanon. Were you around for that still?
1983?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't Reagan's term. Who was that president? I can forget which one it was. Yeah, I was there.
What was that whole thing about?
Terrorists and our military letting their guard down. Perhaps I would say we were in the wrong place. And I still say we're in the wrong place.
So is that what you thought about the invasion of Grenada, too?
Grenada was a waste of our time. A little stupid
island.
What was it about? It was a little island, just with a bunch of idiots on it. We went over and captured all their munitions, and it went away. So yeah, Grenada wasn't even a war.
So what was that? Just like a terrorist threat or something?
Yeah.
That we had to neutralize?
Yeah, my belief, we stick our nose into a lot of people's business that we don't have no business in. Desert Storm, we had business. That was a country that was taken over, and people were being murdered. Our objective was to free them, and we did that. Iraq, we went in with good thought. Big mistake. We're still there. Now that all the combat troops have left, what do we got? More terrorists, more bombings, more hits. You got the terrorists infiltrating the police and the soldiers that our guys are training with, and they turned around and shot 6 of our guys the other day. You've got this Ayatollah guy or the sheik that just came back in, has been in exile in Iran. He was the head of the terrorists during the bloodiest part of Iraq's war with the Iraqi war, and now he's part of the cabinet.
Really?
This was on the world news just the other night. Okay, he's back in Iraq, and now he's made a deal with the president of Iraq, and he's on the cabinet. This is the same guy we ousted So why did we even bother? Why did we bother? Somebody's got to tell me this. Why have we got thousands of soldiers that are wounded for the rest of their friggin' life, and untold how many were killed over there, how many billions of dollars we spent, and they've just made partners with a terrorist?
Yeah, it does sound kind of stupid.
Let's go to Afghanistan. What are we doing there? We ousted the Taliban. We left. They came back in. We went back over. Now we're trying to oust them again. They're selling opium. The Afghans and Iraqis sell opium worldwide on the market. How many millions of dollars have we pumped into Afghanistan, and how many lives have we lost there? It's a war we didn't belong in. Those people have been killing themselves off for hundreds of years. Why are we there? There's no rich oil field.
None that we're going to seize anyway.
We're not going to see it. In Iraq, I mean, we freed Baqarah down in the south, their oil field, and they were blowing the pipes up themselves because they were fighting between the Sunnis and the Shiites.
So you're pretty much against all the Middle Eastern activity.
I don't think anything that's going to happen over there, anything we do, is not going to change history. It is not. And to claim it's for the better of the United States and security, let's take all that money and beef up our security. We've closed all military installations on the East Coast now. What do you got on the East Coast? Fort Devens was the last thing to protect. Fort Devens and the air base we had down south there in Topsam were the last active bases in the Northeast.
They're all
closed. All the active duty are gone. You got Fort Knox, Kentucky. That's not East Coast. And that's a training center for the armor. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. That's the only thing on down.